Hello and welcome back to Minecraft to Frostland. Today I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna talk about something that means a lot to me personally, and this might not matter to you, and you might disagree with my opinions about what I say, and you have every right to disagree with me, and that is yeah, that's okay, but at least respect my opinion and I will respect yours. I just been done seeing, I just completed seeing a documentary called Toronto G20 Exposed about the Toronto G20 summit, about the way the police acted, about how the protesters were treated, and it was horrible. I mean, the documentary was amazing, but what happened was horrible, but that's not really what I'm going to talk about, but it is what got me thinking about this. Well, to be honest, I do think about these things a lot because it's been a big part of my life. I used to be an activist. I used to be a protester. I used to be very politically active, but these days I just can't find the mental and physical energy to do it. So hopefully this will get a little out there still. But the thing I'm going to talk about is how the world has changed these last couple of decades, and it's how it's constantly changing. I know it's not just these last couple of decades, but those are the decades that where I've been aware of what's happening. And I know that a lot of shit happened in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s and even before that, but I'm going to focus mostly on how things are looking today. I'm talking about the our this the uh, constant violation of civil rights, of human rights, that is happening all over the world, in Canada, in the US, in Germany, in France, in Great Britain, in Denmark, in the Middle East, and in Africa, South America, and all over the world. Have how easily those rights that we are supposed to have, how easily they can be taken from us. And I it's and I think that we are constantly blaming the wrong people. I mean, if you look at the governments, who they are blaming, they're blaming the fundamentalists, the Islamic fundamentalists, and other fundamentalists. They're blaming the terrorists. They're blaming the protesters, the riots. They're blaming the socialists and activists and anarchists, and but and they are blaming the governments. Well, a lot of them, the activists are blaming the governments, but it's not even. The problem is that it's not even the governments that are to blame, because these days, and this is where the situation really becomes sad. These days, governments are, and politicians and presidents and kings are nothing but puppets controlled by greater powers, by the corporations, by big business organizations like the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, the IMF, various groups which I can't even remember the names right now. You know, the blah blah group and the whatever group, and companies that are controlling the resources around the world in countries where they have no right to control the resources. Companies like Exxon and British Petrol and various water companies that are privatizing water in South America and in Africa, companies that are controlling oil and copper and diamond and other natural resources in countries where they don't actually belong. We're talking about, and the problem is that these big companies are constantly violating human rights and civil rights. They are constantly breaking treaties and the documents that was created to secure the people, that was created to secure the environment. I mean, there's nothing stopping the big companies from dumping thousands of liters of oil, or to polluting wells, or even moving entire villages because, hey, there's oil here, hey, there's coal here, and they just move these villages and violating people's rights. And no matter how many documents that the different summits, peace summits and economic summits and environmental summits, no matter how many documents they sign, it doesn't really matter, because the same companies that are controlling the world, they are doesn't get punished for breaking these documents, because it's the same companies that are creating the world economy. It's the companies that are backing up the presidents and the kings and the politicians that have these superpowers, that which it used to be superpowers. They are now in the pockets of these businesses. Lobbyists and funders and stuff like that are the big companies. They are companies like Halliburton, like Dow Jones, Monsanto, Exxon, British Petrol, companies I already mentioned. They are controlling the politicians, because they are the ones that fund the politicians. The different campaigns are funded by these big governments. World economies are controlled by the IMF, by the World Bank, and less and less focus on the people, more and more focus on the economy. But when you look at it, who's going to spend the money? Who's going to earn the money if the people are, if the people doesn't matter? We're seeing people constantly being detained, being jailed, being killed, being violated by their own governments, by foreign governments, by companies, by the police. I mean, it's it's hard to look at. And yes, I myself don't have problems. I live in a, well, Denmark isn't really that great of a society, but I don't have any of these problems. I have enough money. I have a place to live. My rights are not being violated yet. I mean, probably a lot of people didn't think that if they went to like the G20 protest in Toronto, or the other protests like in Denmark or in Germany, they didn't think that, hey, if I'm here at a peaceful protest, I'll get shot at with rubber bullets or detained without access to water or toilet facilities for several hours. They didn't expect that, but that is what is happening at most of these big summits. When someone actually care about the state of the world, about civil rights, about human rights, they get punished for caring. They get punished for actually wanting these treaties to matter, because they're not there to, well, at least not all of them, but some are, but they're not there to stop the summit from happening. They're there at the summit to make sure that they're heard, to make sure that the politicians and the companies and the corporations understand that we are serious. We want change. We don't just want empty words on a paper. They are there because they want to make sure that the politicians understand that this is serious. This is our world. This is our planet. This is our society. We are the people. But then we have the cops, just protecting a few businessmen, politicians from the masses. Is that protect and serve? No, that's not protect and serve. They should. I feel that it becomes more like a private army, a private security force for the politicians. The same politicians, the same that are supposed to serve the people, not the other way round. But in most societies these days, we have, of course, democracy. What's it called? The democracy works this way, that we control. We have a saying in who leads us, who is in government. But that's all we have. After that, we become voiceless. As soon as you set your mark upon that paper or stamp on it, plug into some computer, then you pretty much signed away all your rights. because there's no guarantee that these politicians that you voted for, that they will actually do anything about anything, do the things that they promise. There is no guarantee that they even can, because, like I said, politicians, governments are just in the pockets of these big companies that is constantly making the world a worse place. I mean, look at stuff like Halliburton and what's it called? I think it's called Blackwater. They they had no business in Iraq or Afghanistan, but they have almost more power, at least they think they do, than the army itself. I mean, no, the army, the U.S. Army and other army, including the Danish army, should not have been sent to Iraq or Afghanistan. But furthermore, the Halliburton and Blackwater and other organizations should really not have been sent there. And these organizations seem to have more power because they can violate I don't know how many rights because they don't work for a government. They don't work has the people to answer to because they're private companies. And unfortunately, whenever a private company does anything illegal or damaging to the system or to the people or the environment, they don't get any. They don't get judged. They don't have any. What's the word? I forgot what word I'm looking for. But they get away with it. There's no consequences. That's the word I was looking for. There are no consequences. And I know I'm rambling on. I'm going from here to there, and it's just it's hard to explain these things, and I'm not really good at explaining myself because my brain is functions the way it does. Everything just goes around in a circle. But like I said, these protesters that actually come and are not just there to smash buildings and windows and beat up the police, but these protesters that are there to to have their voices heard are getting beat down by the police. They're getting tear gassed. They're getting mazed. They're getting shot at with rubber bullets, or in the worst case, actual bullets. It's happened again. It's happened before in 1993 in Denmark. A protest. There's a bunch of rioters who were angry at a re-vote on our membership into the European Union. They got shot at with real live bullets. Multiple people were mortally wounded, not mortally, seriously wounded. No one died, but that was just pure luck that they didn't die. I guess I don't know if luck would be the right word. And multiple times. I mean, look at I think it was the G8 summit in Italy where I can't remember his name, Carlo something, was shot directly through his face and then run over twice by a police car. And while he was still alive but slowly dying, cops were kicking him while on the ground and even putting out cigarettes on his body. I mean, that is not okay. But the problem is, no one, as far as I know, was ever punished. No one had to take any consequences from this situation. It becomes more and more dangerous to be an activist, more and more dangerous to be a protest. And these are just, I'm talking about the Western world. If you go to, like, the Middle East and be an activist there, then your life is truly in danger. If you, in, if you're in the Palestine and protesting there, you have a high chance, high risk of actually not coming out alive, of disappearing. More people have been killed by the Israeli police, the Israeli army, while trying to protect the settlements of Palestine. And it's it's scary to see how much the world has changed in only these few decades. In only this decade, the world has become worse and worse. And I mean, even when I like go, when I look at Danish forums or Danish newspapers or just listen to Danish people in general, I hear them becoming more racist, more homophobic, more sexist. We have in Europe, we more and more fascist political parties are actually gaining power, gaining influence over governments, and that's just scary. Did we learn nothing from World War II? And I, the situation in the world is becoming worse and worse for everybody. And yes, I know that I'm not living in a third world country where I suffer from hunger, where and I risk getting killed for my beliefs. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't care about what's happening in Western countries as well. Because the problem is, if we in the Western world, who has the resources and the power to actually help some of the less fortunate countries, well, if we can't even take care of ourselves, make sure that our own rights are not violated, then I guess then how the fuck are we supposed to help people in countries where they don't really have the same resources, the same opportunities to actually defend themselves, to help themselves? I mean, I'm not saying that it's the Western world's responsibility. Actually, I am saying that because we were the one that actually that created a lot of the situations that you see in Africa and South America, in the Middle East, and it is our responsibility, in my opinion, to actually help the people that we, not personally we, but that our nations, that our countries, that our parts of the world has crippled. I remember back when the Afghan war and the Iraq war was still at its highest, there were so many people in Denmark that saying, "Hey, we don't want these refugees. Oh, maybe we shouldn't have gone down and made these people homeless and started a war in their country. Now we're not actually taking them in." What the fuck, Denmark? Denmark is it's a good country to live in many ways, but in many other ways we are homophobic, we're racist, we are it is a police state. Denmark is has many times seen violations of human rights by the police, and I have personally not have any dealt with anything. I try to stay away from situations, and but I am really, I look up to people that are on the front lines, on the barricades. I do, and I wish I had it in me to do that. I have been on the barricades a few times, but I mean, my anxiety, my autism has made it so that it's not really a good situation for me to be in those areas. But I really applaud the people that are out there, both at the summits and at the protests, but also out there in the world helping people, Doctors Without Borders. We're talking about people like in the Free Palestine movement, where people that are actually out there doing a difference, fighting the big companies, because it's not the governments we're fighting. It's not the the powers that the superpowers of yesterday are just in the pockets of the new ones, the organizations, the businesses, the people who control the money, the people that are ruining. Strangely enough, the people who control all the money, who is there to control the economics, are at the same time ruining the economy of not only the smaller third world countries, but now also the first world, if you want to call it that. The bigger countries are being ruined. Their economies are being destroyed by the very companies that are supposed to maintain it. And if change doesn't come soon, we will live in a world where there are no rights, where where money is everything, no healthcare, no housing will be almost impossible. We'd have constant wars, police that has absolutely no boundaries. They know they and will be constant violation of rights. The environment will be gone. Our natural resources will be depleted, and I don't do much myself, but I wish I could. And I do at times go to protests and at rallies and stuff like that. And for the people who has the the power, the energy, both mentally and physical, to actually do a difference, I hope you do. And to the people who, whenever stuff like this happen, whenever viol- rights are being violated for protesters who just sit back in their couch and cheer for the police to do their job, fuck you. I mean it. Fuck you. These are people you're watching. I see them. I see the comments on forums, on YouTube. Everything is just, yeah, these people deserve to be killed. These people deserve to be shot. These are human beings. It could be your family member. It could be a friend. It could be a neighbor. I was about to say that I hope you get in trouble and I laugh at you, but I won't. Because I'm not that type of person. I just wish that more people, I'm not saying go out there, get on the barricades, but I just hope that more people realize the situations, realize the state of affairs, the way the world is, the constant violation of human rights. Just because you don't see the violation, just because you might not need free health care or you have enough money, doesn't mean that you should care about other people, because one day it's gonna come back and bite you in the fucking ass, and you'd wish that you'd actually been helping, been doing something to help the situation instead of just enjoying your high class life, or your even your middle class life, because a lot of the middle class is just as um, um, apathetic apathetic as the the higher class, the people, because I don't know. It's hard to say. It's actually, I've noticed that a lot of racism is in classes that is in the working class, and I just feel like, I don't know. I'm gonna stop now because I'm already rambling on. Today's videos is going to include what's the game called? Grey Matter. We haven't recorded those videos yet, but I'm going to record them in like half an hour from now. And is also, of course, going to include Second Fall, where we continue the quest from last time. This video is a little shorter than the previous ones, but I thought I just wanted to complete this quest and not start anything up. But it's still going to be a really good video, I felt like. So yeah, I'm just gonna. But I'm gonna leave, if I remember to do. I'm gonna leave a link in the description to the movie I started talking about, and it's not a isolated event. It's not something that just happened that one time. It's happening all over the world, and I feel like if we're not trying to shut up the people that are actually trying to do a difference, then then we're fucked. So check out the movie if you want. If you're not, it's called. If I forget to put in the link, you can find it here on YouTube. It's called uh, what's it called? Toronto G20 exposed, and you can go to my documentary lists. It's you can find it on my links page, about page. There you'll see some links to some different YouTube, IMDb lists, and one of them is about documentaries, and there is a lot about civil rights, about protests, about the economy, about capitalism, about big businesses, about the environment, and stuff like that. So you can check that out, because I think that the most important thing is not to go out there and protest, to go out there and fight. The most important thing, and at least the first step, is to be aware that there is a problem. Then, from there on, you can take the next step. educate yourself, not only in the matters of school education, but also in the affairs state of what's going on in the world. I'd say that what's happening to know what's happening now is more importantly to know what happened in ancient Egypt. So yeah, I'm gonna stop now. I could go on forever talking about this. I hope it made sense. I know I start to ramble a lot when I talk about stuff like this, and I might have said something that is wrong. I am not perfect. I admit that. I might have been misinformed by some things. I might say something that you disagree with, but I'm just one person. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. It's not complete truth. It's not. It's not something that is law. It's just my opinion, and I might have been misinformed by things. I might have misinterpreted things. You might disagree with me, and I'm rambling on now. Sorry. I'm gonna leave now. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you later on today for more gaming, and I'll see you tomorrow for even more. So, bye.